Hi, I'm Will from Venture to Rome, and today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite camping hacks. These are things that I've picked up over the years while setting up camp and using all this gear that we use in overlanding that have made my life better, more efficient, you name it. So a lot of these hacks are things that you can use no matter what type of camping you're doing. Some of them are specific to vehicle-based exploration, but there's a lot of stuff for everyone. And it's not just me. I've got some of my favorite YouTube channels who are also going to share their camping hacks, so let's get started. Okay, the first camping hack is this. Regular old wet wipes. Now, you can buy any kind of wipe that you want. There's like scented wipes, there's like wipes for guys, wipes for girls, shower wipes. I just have regular old wet wipes on Subscribe and Save from Amazon. No joke, like we have a box of these in our garage and we go through them like you wouldn't believe. And that's because they're so useful. So yes, you can use them to clean your body after you go to the bathroom, and they're multi-gender useful, like they're good for everybody. You can use them to take showers with, kind of like a sponge bath shower. I have my son sit right here before he gets in the tent at night because he likes to wear Crocs at camp and his feet look like a murder scene, and I make him spend like 5 wipes to clean his feet off before he gets in the tent at night. So for cleaning your body, they're fantastic. They're also really good for cleaning down your eating space. So if you have a tailgate table or if you have any kind of table at camp, a wet wipe is a great way to just give it a quick wipe down before you serve dinner or cook on it. It's good for cleaning cooking stuff. So like I use it all the time as like half of my dish washing job. I'll use wet wipes to kind of get everything wiped out, so I have to use a lot less water when I'm doing the dishes. It's good for cleaning my dash off on the inside of the Jeep when it gets really dusty. I'll just grab a couple of these, wipe it down, and you're kind of reset back to a normal state of dust level inside your rig. Also, if you are running low on windshield wiper fluid or trying to conserve windshield wiper fluid, these are great for cleaning your windshield. If you're a YouTuber and you have a dash cam and you have bug guts all over it, this is great for like getting a clean shot. I found these particularly useful for side view mirrors. So when I'm on the trail and we're going through mud or going through a lot of dust, the side view mirrors get so caked sometimes they become almost useless. And so having a couple of these you can wipe down before you start the day or midway through the day makes it so you can actually use those side view mirrors that don't have any wiper fluid that you can automatically use to clean them. So that's a long list of reasons that you should get wet wipes. I know this is kind of a weird one to start with, but it's probably my most useful hack. My next hack is knives at camp. If you don't like knives at camp, I'm not 100% sure we can be friends because these are so useful. They take the place of a few different tools. For example, you can use it to cut stuff, right? But you can use it to split wood. So this takes the place of a hatchet. And hatchets, I think, are not very safe instruments at camp, especially if you have kids and you don't really know how to use them. It's really easy to get your hand in there or accidentally hit your foot. I've seen it happen. I've seen it almost happen a million times. So I'm not a huge fan of hatchets, which is why these are so great, because you can use these to baton wood. So you put this in the wood, you use another piece of wood or a rubber mallet or something, and you hit it and it chops the wood. So no fingers are in there, which is really, really nice. And it cuts just as good as a hatchet. So it can replace a hatchet. It can be your hammer for steaks. These have full tangs on them, so you can use it to pound in steaks at camp. You can use it to cook and eat with. Although this one, you can tell I've used and abused this one a lot, and it's got this kind of paint coating on it that has grit, and I found that it doesn't clean super well. So I use this one more as a utility knife than a cooking and eating knife, which is why I want to show you this thing from Maxsa knives. This is a bushcraft chef's knife. So it can do all those other things. You can use it to baton wood, to cut things. You can use it, it's got a full tang, so you can use it as a hammer. But it's got this nice finish on it that you can really clean. And so I wouldn't think twice about using this to eat with, to cook with. I've done that at home, and I'm about to take this on a trip across Oregon where I will be using this as my main bushcraft knife. So more to come on how this thing holds up, but knives are wonderful at camp. You should get some. Okay, my next hack has to do with making coffee at camp. As you may know, I love the Aeropress coffee maker. It's my favorite coffee, and I think it's a fantastic thing to use at camp. Well, they've just kind of upped their game a little bit when it comes to hacks, because they came out with this, which is the Aeropress Go, which is everything you need to make and drink coffee right here in a mug, and it all packs together. So you've got your stir stick and your scooper fit right in there. You've got your kind of main brew chamber, which is great, and it fits perfectly on there. This is an insulated mug, which keeps your drink warm. In the bottom of this, you've got your filters, and so really all you need is hot water, and you can brew some great coffee. So let's test it out. All right, let's test her out. Oh, it's hot. It's really strong, just the way I like it. So awesome. Thank you, Aeropress Go, for coming up with this camping hack. Next, we're gonna hear from Matt over at Freys on the Side, and he's got a hack that's related to guidelines on awnings, which is something that has bothered me on many occasions. So let's hear what Matt has to say.
Hey Will, thanks for having me on your channel. My name is Matt with Freys on the Side. We are a family-based camping and overlanding adventure channel. And today I wanted to share with you one of my favorite hacks when it comes to awning, and specifically how you tie them down with those guy wires. So let's get into it. All right, so for this hack, 2 stakes, the guy wire, and a mallet of some sort. Traditionally, guy wires go out from the post probably at like a 30 to 45 degree angle. I do think that's probably the most secure way, or one of the most secure ways, but you know, it takes up a ton of real estate. You're tripping over it all night. You're tying little glow-in-the-dark things so you don't trip on it. Okay, so with this technique, you're basically bringing the guy wire straight down. I typically, if I have a couple extra stakes, I'll put these stakes in at a cross. I bring the guy wire straight down, and I hook in to both of the stakes, and I hammer them down, and I basically slide to get as tight as I need the guy wire. So I'm pulling straight down. And then what I do is I wrap it around the pole 2 or 3 times, and then I just come up and hook. Ever since we've had an awning, we've been running it like this, and we really like it. The benefits obviously is that the guy wire stays in line with the pole, and you're just eliminating a potential trip hazard around, around camp. It holds up really well. We've had this in some pretty good rain and pretty good wind, and with all 4 posts staked in like this, it actually held up really well. Now, I'm generally on the cautious side, so if there is some really bad wind and I don't need the awning out, I'll typically put it back or not put it up at all. I really hope you enjoyed this hack and that you're able to use it on your setups. All right, Will, thanks for hosting me. And I know for all of you out there, if you're anything like me, I love hacks. So I'm really looking forward to what the next creator has to say.
Thanks, Matt. That's a great hack. I might use that on this Taruka awning. It's double hinged. It's really huge. And in the wind, I'm worried that it might become a sail. So I imagine I'll be using those guy lines and tying it down the way which you just showed us to do. So while I set up for this next hack, I want to check in with Ian over at Doc Wrangler, who's got a hack related to paper towel storage.
Hey friends, Doc Wrangler. Our new puppy loves to eat paper towels, and getting them up and out of the way is a must. So kind of happened on this idea after multiple different tries. Most vehicles will have a hole in the interior where the wires are going out to the windshield wiper, as well as where the wires are going out to the defrost mechanism. Put a bungee cord in one of the holes, throw your paper towels on it, stretch it across, and boom, you have the world's best paper towel holder. Up, out of the way, but constantly accessible. Thanks, Will. Back to you.
Thanks, Ian. That's a great hack for a common problem. The next hack that I want to show you has to do with airing up or airing down your tires. So many vehicles and all Jeeps have a tire pressure monitor sensor on every single tire. And instead of going tire by tire to check what the PSI is, you can just look on your dash computer. You just turn it to a certain setting and it shows you what all 4 PSIs are. So when you get down to whatever your number is, you can stop airing down, or when you're airing up, when you get up to whatever number it is, you can stop airing up. And it's not perfect, it's not 100%, but it gets you really, really close, and it's a lot easier than going tire by tire, bending down and trying to get a reading. I don't know about you, but as I get older, my knees don't like to get down on the ground that often. So anyway, this is my cheat sheet for airing up and airing down. Okay, my next hack has to do with this Claymore rechargeable fan. So this is a fan. I mentioned this in a gear video not too long ago as well. But it's a really, really cool fan that you can use for multiple things. So number one, you can use it to cool yourself in your tent or move some air around in your tent. And as the weather is getting warmer and the nights are getting warmer, something like this is nice because you can hang it from a carabiner in your tent and you can hear, like, it doesn't make very much sound, which is pretty incredible. So you can use it to like cool yourself off. Great, we know that, thanks Will, big deal. But you can also use it on this stand that it comes with to blow away smells when you're cooking. If you're me, it's probably smoke, but just blowing things away from your rig if you're cooking out of the back of your rig, so that where you sleep doesn't smell like steak when you go to sleep at night, or where you're driving doesn't smell like, you know, beef stroganoff when you get in to drive the next morning. So it's effective for that. It's also, you can use this kind of like as a little handle, and it's also good for starting a fire. So if you want to put some extra air on the fire, you can use this thing to do that. So there's at least 3, I would say, very useful uses for this fan, which is why I think it's a hack. Now we're going to hear from Josh over at Overland AZ, who's got 2 fantastic hacks, 2 that I haven't tried yet because I'm a little bit past it in terms of being a parent to young kids, but I wish I would have done both of these things when my kids were younger.
Hey everyone, Josh here with Overland AZ. Big thank you to Will for having me on this collaboration. Always a good time doing these. Today I'm going to show you 2 of our favorite camp hacks that we've been using for a number of years and find a lot of value in. The first camp hack that we have is this right here, which is called the Noggle. And what the Noggle is, it's designed to route cold air from your AC vent into the back seat of your vehicle if you don't have rear AC. Here in the desert, it gets really hot, and so this works great for us with the kids in the car seats in the back. But there's another use for this, and that is on those really, really cold nights at camp. I will run this up into the rooftop tent, and I will actually be able to remote start the Jeep. The Jeep will run for about 15 minutes, and it'll start piping hot air up into the tent. And it just takes the edge off when you're getting out of your warm clothes and getting into your warm sleeping bag, or in the morning when you're getting out of your warm sleeping bag and you got to change into your clothes again. This really helps take the edge off inside the tent and just warm things up and make it more comfortable, especially if you have your family with you and your kids. You know how difficult that can be sometimes trying to get everybody up and ready to start their day. The next camp hack that I have, this one is very important if you have kids and you use a rooftop tent or even a ground tent. And that's just adding some carabiners. I put carabiners on all of the zippers of our rooftop tents. And I've also added these on our Gazelle tent as well. And the point of this is so that if your kids are up there, they're messing around in the tent, maybe they're real young and they don't know any better, and they're just playing with the zippers because they're curious, there's a possibility that they may open one of the windows or open one of the doors by mistake and fall out of the tent. Or if you have a ground tent, they may open up a door zipper and actually escape out of the tent. I thought this was like something that probably wouldn't be necessary until a good friend of mine was out camping with his 6-month-old daughter, and at about 2 or 3 in the morning, he hears this rustling. He doesn't really know what it is or what's going on, but it's enough to wake him up, and it's dark, and he still can't really tell, you know, is it his wife? Is it his daughter? And the next thing he knows, he feels his daughter slip out of the sleeping bag and fall out of the tent. They're 6 feet up on a rooftop tent on top of their Tacoma. She was ultimately okay. They had to pack up camp and rush her to the ER. In order to prevent that and prevent those curious kids from playing with the zippers and possibly having that happen to you, that's a really scary situation. Just go on Amazon, pick up some carabiners. They're super cheap. I got a 10-pack for I think like $5 or something like that. And you can just clip these on the paracord for your zippers. Or if you don't have paracord, you can also add key rings to the zippers and then use these to clip that. What I'll often do is we put the kids to bed and then my wife and I are hanging out by the campfire. So I'll get them up in the tent. I'll clip these on the outside of the zippers. And then that way, if the kids do mess with the zippers, they can't pull them both open and accidentally slip out. And then when we go to bed, I will just take one off of the door and then I'll move it to the inside. So if while we're sleeping, if they happen to wake up and mess with the zippers while we're sleeping, again, it protects them and keeps them inside the tent. So these are my 2 camping hacks that I want to share with you guys. They're both really inexpensive and offer some comfort and some security. especially if you're camping with kids. I hope you enjoyed these. Thanks again, Will, for having me on the channel. We'll see you on the trail.
Awesome hacks, Josh. Those are the kinds of things that you learn when you've been on the trail with your family and you're just problem solving over time, figuring those things out. So those are two fantastic hacks, and I love that you shared those with us. Next, we're gonna go right over to Jason over at All Things Overlanding, and he's got two hacks that I think are really helpful as well, especially if you have a fridge that's on a slider.
Hey there. Fletch from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm excited because Will from Venture to Rome invited me to be a part of this Overlanding Hacks collab. He asked me to do one hack that I could share with you guys, but I'm going to disrespect him a little bit because I've got two actually that I'm going to cram into this quick little 2 minutes. So my first hack is, you know, we're overlanders. We like to be prepared. Maybe sometimes we bring too much gear. That is definitely a possibility. So this may be an optional thing. It's definitely not something you have to bring with you, but I've been in a lot of dusty environments, so I had this little rechargeable air duster thing to blow off my dashboard. I mean, just everything's covered in dust, right? So to be able to blow that off versus having to wipe it down, you make more of a mess when you wipe it down with like a wet rag. I have one of these dusters, and one time I was at camp, and I'm sure you probably have heard of this before, but I'm recommending it as something you can get as a hack for overlanding. You can use those little blow duster things to get a fire going like crazy. And I'm going to show you here exactly what I mean, but this thing's like 30 bucks. It's rechargeable, USB-C. It's an awesome little piece of gear that you can use for multiple purposes, which is why I like it for overlanding, to, again, clean out your vehicle or to get a fire raging. So that's number one. Now, the second sort of hack is something that literally costs pennies. I bought these D-rings, and I've seen a lot of people have problems with their cords for their fridges when they're on a slide. I've cut up my own cord multiple times. I've tried to figure this thing out, and I finally think I have a very inexpensive but very functional solution. And I'm going to show it to you right here. So basically what I did was I zip tied mine to these little black plastic bumpers on the side here. And then I used this Nilight D-ring because it's flexible, so it allows it to move. In this case, I used it as almost like a pivot, and you'll see why here. When I pull the fridge out and it slides, the cord comes with it, but then that D-ring allows it to pivot with it. And then it comes down, and then when I put it back up, it allows the cord to pivot back. All right, guys, so as you saw, those were my two hacks, my illegal double hacking that I'm sharing with you today. Again, my name's Fletch. My channel's All Things Overlanding. Again, will put a link in the description down below, but I'd love to have you guys as subscribers if you're interested in do-it-yourself type hacks and mods for overlanding, general camping stuff. I'm also a Nissan guy, so there's some Nissan content over there. There's tons of gear stuff that I do, so if any of that sounds interesting, I'd love it if you came over and subscribed to my channel. But again, thanks, Will, for having me, and take care.
Great hacks, Fletch. I like the use of the dust blower. That's cool. I have the fan for starting fires, but that's another thing that people might find really useful. If you don't want to have wet wipes to wipe down your interior, you can blow it out and then use that to start a fire. So great one on that. And then the fridge slide, I don't have one, but I may have one soon. So I might use that hack or the hack that we're going to hear from Caleb over at Baker Overland right now, which is just a different approach to a fridge slider.
Hey guys, I'm Caleb with Baker Overland, and I am a Venture to Rome fanboy. Super stoked to be a part of this collaboration. And this one's real simple. Anyone can do it, and it just makes your life a little bit more convenient while out camping. Now, if you have a fridge on a slide in your vehicle, this one is for you. You probably run the power on the back end of the fridge to a dual battery or like a portable battery, whatever your setup. The cable runs behind the fridge. When we go to extend it out on the slide, that cable will pull with it. But then when we go to put it back, a lot of times in this process, the cable will get pinched behind the slide, and it can crimp the cable, and it can cause it be difficult to slide it in and out. And that is where this little doohickey steps in. Now, this is like a $10, $15 retractable ID holder that I use to keep the cable pulled out of the way when the slide is going back in. So let's go take a look at the back end. I'll show you what that looks like. So this here is the fridge cable, and this is the little ID holder. And as I pull the fridge out, you can see it extends with the fridge. And then as I slide it back in, it pulls the cable right back to where it was. And boom, that's it. That is the whole tip. Super simple. But man, it adds up over time. This is one of those mild conveniences that really makes a difference over time. Now, this is not a big significant modification, but I tell you, I got kids. We're constantly getting in and out of the fridge on the trails and on camping trips to get snacks and stuff, and pulling that cable out from getting bunched up behind the fridge. It's a pain. And so this is an awesome way to solve that problem inexpensively. Now, I'm sure there's a million other options out there that do this more efficiently, probably more expensively. This one works for me. Go get you a retractable ID badge holder off of Amazon. I'll throw a link in Will's video to this one right here, but any of them will work. And solve this problem, make your life better. Thanks for the invite to this collaboration, Will. I appreciate you, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Caleb. That's an awesome hack. That's something that's either like really cheap or that you've picked up along your travels at like a convention or something that you can reuse camping and overlanding. So beautiful hack. I have 2 more hacks to show you and then a few more to mention. And the next 2 have to do with your phone. Probably the most magical little device that exists in this world. It's this little magical computer that we put in our pocket and throw around the house and complain about all day. But it has some really amazing functions on it that can vastly improve your camping experience. So one of them has to do with that moment that you get to camp and you realize you forgot something. This has happened to me many times. It happens to somebody I go out with almost every single time I go out. It's like, oh, I forgot the toilet paper or something like that. Well, Apple has a little function called Apple Notes, and you can make checklists in it. So you can put all your items, everything that you need to bring in that checklist, and it is shared. So I can share it with Kate. So when we're packing to go, like we're getting ready to leave for the weekend or for a long trip, we're both just kind of scrambling around, getting everything ready, getting it packed in the rigs. And this checklist function, because it's shared, whenever I check something off, it shows up on her phone as checked off too. So when we get in the rigs to leave, we can look at the list and we can be confident that everything is where it's supposed to be, or at least it's packed in the back of the rigs. So use Apple Notes, share it with your partner, and you will be much, much happier at camp. You'll go from the person saying, oh, I forgot this, to the person that everyone comes to when they have forgotten something, like, oh, hey, Will, did you bring paper towels? Yeah, I brought paper towels. It's on my checklist. I never forget it. Okay, the next function on your phone that you have to know about is a new feature on Onyx Offroad. So Onyx Offroad is a mapping software that I use all the time to route, to wayfind, to find new routes when I'm looking for places to go. But they've just launched a new feature that is definitely hack worthy. So when you sign up for a paid subscription on Onyx, you can download areas on the map so that you can access them offline, which other companies do as well. It's fantastic. It's a great feature because then you can have a map with you even if you're off grid. However, what Onyx just launched is the ability to reroute while you're off grid, while you're offline. So I don't know about you, but when I go out, I have this beautiful little route that I drew before we left, and we get out there and everything changes. Roads are closed, there's fires, there's snow on the road, there's private property that I missed when I was routing it. All those things happen all the time. And so your beautiful little line becomes meaningless, and you're now just kind of always zooming in and looking, am I on the right road or whatever? Well, now you can reroute, and you can do that offline. So that's definitely worth a mention in this hack video because it's super, super effective when you're off-road and you run into unplanned circumstances that make you have to reroute. And if you're interested in getting Onyx and having this feature, you can save 20% by clicking the link in the description below. Okay, now I'm gonna share with you 3 hacks that I've never tried that come from my Patreon supporters. So I put this question out to my Patreon supporters, hey, what are the hacks that you guys have come up with over the years out there camping? And I got some amazing responses. I've just picked 3 to share with you. I think they're great. So number 1 is take a chamois or a chamois, those kind of, I don't know, absorbent things for drying your car, up into the tent with you during cold weather camping, and you can use it in the morning to wipe down the condensation on the tent. Much better than a towel, big and bulky thing. It's just packs, usually they pack down to like a little tube, super absorbent. So I love that hack, really, really smart. Using a leaf blower for dust. So if you've got room in the back of your truck or your Jeep or your 4Runner or Tundra or whatever it is, you can bring a leaf blower with you or a power blower and name your brand, Ryobi, DeWalt, Milwaukee. And if you have one of those at home that you're already using for like blowing things around your yard, put it in the back. When you show up to camp, use it to blow off the dust from the back of your rig. The front too, probably, but especially the back. Seems like it really sticks in the back, and this is where your unpacking, this is where you're cooking. And so doing that to just get rid of all the dust when you get to camp is a really interesting idea. Okay, and then the last one is reusing your dryer lint as a fire starter. So take an empty roll of toilet paper, cardboard roll, pack it full of dryer lint, and if you want to make it waterproof, put some Vaseline on it. But those are readily available fire starters that work extremely well. Even with Tint and Flinder, you can get those things going. But certainly with the match, they burn like crazy. And you have yourself a nice homemade fire starter, reusing stuff that you would have otherwise just thrown in the trash at home. So those are camping hacks. We have a lot more to share. There's a ton of these things we've come up with. Those are just our camping hacks for now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.